like this class or this workshop. I know a lot of you come here with the idea of what's in it for me and how is it going to help me with my class in the fall. And that's the way I kind of go into the computer science principles course, thinking that's what my students are thinking. Okay, first, before you teach this class, you need to really understand what computer science principles is. Computer science principles, this is directly from computerscienceprinciples.org, is a proposed AP course. This is not an AP course yet. It's on the books to be an AP course, but it's not an AP course yet. So you need to understand that for me, I don't have all AP level students in my class. So I've got to keep that in the back of my mind when I'm trying to make the course relevant for them. Okay, one of the first things that you can do is get to know your students. I know a lot of teachers don't know every student in every class, but I could stand up here, I won't, but I could stand up here and tell you every student I had in my computer science principles class, I had 20, I can tell you what they plan to major in college, I can tell you about their interest, I can tell about their likes and dislikes, I can tell you what made the class difficult. I really got personal with that class. I got more personal with that class than I did any other class I had. I don't get into drama, but I got personal with them and found out things about them. Okay, one of the ways I did that, first day of class, when you're doing housekeeping, I did a Google form. We're going to see Google Forms in a few days if you don't use Google Forms. And I have all kinds of random questions. They're not all random, but there's a meaning behind it. But the whole purpose of the forum is to find out who my students are in class. You know, every kid that you have in Computer Science A, Java, AP Computer Science A class, they're probably wanting to be a programmer or they're wanting to be an engineer. But in Computer Science Principles, you're going to have all kinds of students. I had a turf grass person in Computer Science Principles. So I had to think of things, technology related, that would appeal to him. I had a lot of students. I found out their clubs and activities. I had a lot of FFA students. We have an award-winning FFA group at our school. So I had to look for things to make those students feel like they were a part. In this survey, I teach at a title school. My students don't all have things at home to work with. So this is the survey that I kind of throw everything in, and I ask them, do you have a computer at home? Do you have access to Microsoft Office? Do you have internet access at home? And that way I can plan and make the course go better for those students. I find out their likes and dislikes. I find out if they're a gamer. Not many teachers ask that. But I ask about those things that I really don't understand. I call it all Pokemon kids. I don't understand that world, but I'll listen to them, and they really do well in these classes. And I find out their favorite subjects. They get points if they pick me after the first day. And I ask them, this is a good place, I plan to ask them if they've ever visited a college or a university and where they visited. And at this point, I also sign them up for Remind 101. I think they changed the title of it to Remind. And that way I can send them reminders. I can kind of be mama to them as well and remind them to do things. I also give a personality quiz because in this class there's a lot of collaborative projects and I pair them up. I don't put two leaders together because they may disagree and they won't get things done. So at this point I do all these things at the beginning of class. Another important thing that you can do in Computer Science Principles to make it relevant is to look in the news. Find out what's happening because kids seem to be interested in and they know a whole lot more about the news. I watch the news. I read the news online. But a lot of the kids that I have, it's amazing what all they pick up on just from the local news. And some of these are news things that happen in our local news that we incorporated in class. Target. Did anybody shop the day after Thanksgiving at Target, use their red card? I did. I bought a stupid set of DVDs and I thought, oh, I hope it didn't ruin my credit over that. But it didn't. I was safe. But that led to a lot of good discussion in the class about security and internet and different topics like that. Another one, I don't know if y'all knew this went on, but when the Malaysian plane went missing, there was a website that put satellite footage out for people, everyday people, to do crowdsourcing and try to find wreckage and pieces of the plane. Well, we had one of those bad weather days, get to go home early. I just have them in class for 20 minutes. So we did crowdsourcing in class. And of all things, when we were reviewing at the end of the year, I'm throwing things out there. I said, what's crowdsourcing? And the kids said, is that when we look for the plane? So it was a link there with something local that happened. And we actually sat in class. This is one of my students, and you can see the clouds in the skies, and he was actually helping search for wreckage of the plane. Pretty interesting. Okay, this one's pretty rough, but my class knew about this. A person was murdered in our county, and he was found on my land. We have land, we have cattle, and supposedly the person that murdered him killed over 30 people across the country. And it was big news, and it was big news in the local papers. So my kids, were coming in class, don't mess with Miss McCarley. They found a body on her land. Watch out for her. But we used this in class because they came in and they asked me questions all the time about, some things I couldn't talk about and some things I couldn't. It was in the news. I don't know that I normally would use something this rough, but this is life, and this was personal. It was real personal to me. But they found a receipt across the road from where I live. They found the receipt where the person was found, and it was a receipt from Walmart. And we talked about the information on the receipt. I'm careful. I don't just throw receipts away. I destroy them because, it's that connection. There's date, time. They use the data. We've talked about big data and how big data, massive amounts of data are stored, and we don't even know all the uses yet. Walmart didn't know that they were going to help catch a criminal when they created their system for putting all this information on receipts. But Walmart also, if you look up, they have video cameras. So once they had that receipt, they had the date and the time. And they could go back and they looked at the video. They got the men in line buying their little Debbie cakes right before the crime happened. Then they got the cameras in the parking lot, and they got the vehicle that was involved. So there was a lot of information just from that data collected, and that linked back to big data, and that was, very real to them. Okay, so current news and events are another way to make things personal, to make it really relevant to students. I look at the local newspaper, and once you get these ideas, internet, data, programming, I look for things like that all the time in the paper. ACM Tech News, we get an emailing every week. You can subscribe to that, and you're going to get all kinds of information. And I subscribe personally to publications like Wired Magazine. I keep them in class. The kids love to flip through them and look at all the neat things in those magazines as well. Okay, one other thing. Like I say, I teach at a title school. Field trips are so important. I had another teacher tell me, I was just like, oh, no, not a field trip, the headache of it. But he said, you think about it. You tell me something that happened one day in geometry class when you were in high school. He said that would be hard to remember back. But he said, I bet you could tell me every field trip you ever had and everything that happened on that field trip. This year, this was my class. We're fixing to go out to the fountains and have our picture made. But we came here on the way back. I had kids thank me for taking them. And, they don't thank me every day for class. They just don't. But, boy, they thanked me for that field trip. I talked to them afterwards, and I was amazed by the number of students that have never visited a university. My plan this year, we wasn't able to do it last year because of the weather, was like to come here and do a junior college. Because I have seniors that say they're going to Calhoun, a local community college, and I'll say, well, have you visited? Have you liked it? They just know that's their only option. So I think it's so important to include field trips to get that personal connection. Whatever else anything is, it ought to begin by being personal. These are my puppies. Aren't they cute? That's my personal part. Y'all, let me take 1 second. We're finishing up to get real and to get personal. I may need my Kleenexes, but I completely support this computer science principles. I can see the difference it's made in the students in my class. I tell my kids that my life is a sitcom. They could do a movie. I'm telling you, my life is a sitcom. This last year, my life has turned into a drama. I've had lots of family problems. And I talked to my class about it. We're personal, we're real. Things happen in their lives. just like it does in mine. But my dad just passed away. He had liver cancer, and we just found out it was a sudden thing. And what stands out in my mind was I was at the hospital and they were collecting all this data. They come in there and they take his blood and they scan his bracelet and they collect that data. But when the doctors told us what my dad had, they said it's liver cancer and the type of cancer it is. The technology is just not there. It's just not there. When it's detected, it's too late. It's just not there. And I'm thinking, I'm a computer teacher and the technology is just not there. And I came back to the class and the kids think I'm completely brainwashed by computer science because I get so excited and I love it and I just clap and it's a circus in the class, but it's an organized circus. But I told them, I said, just think, in this class, you know, you may not be a programmer, but I've got a girl back there that's going to be a pharmacist. And I've got somebody else that's going in the medical field. And just think, one of our students in that class might remember something we did in big data, and they may work in the medical field, and they may figure out a way to take all these symptoms and come up with a way to detect something that today the technology is not there for. So, you know, that's my ray of hope for this class. You know, we may not all be programmers, but I truly believe that my class can change the world with computer science.